Hi everyone. So in the previous video we covered about the repository and we will be covering about the pipelines in this video. So let's start. So if you click on this pipeline and try to hover over it, it is going to show all these options. I'll just click on it and it is going to expand the options for me. So by default, if you click on pipelines, it is going to take you to this page, which are usually the build pipelines. So that is not an hard and fast rule that you have to use this for only build pipeline. You can configure your YAML to build as well as release. But let's start with the reason they were created for. So these are for build reasons, and then we have these release pipelines for releasing code into the production dev or QA. So you might, so as you can see, for deployments form. So this is for releasing. So let's first start with the build pipeline. So I have two pipelines already. These one of it is let me edit it. So this one is a YAML pipeline. So I simply created a YAML pipeline with all this code. I'm using Microsoft's default pool. And so why do we need this pool? First of all, let's cover that. So I have a trigger branch master, but you might want to run this pipeline for your feature branch. So you can choose a branch from here, say main or any other feature branch, and then run it. So trigger means then whenever there is code merge into the master, this pipeline is going to get auto triggered. Okay. You can add more triggers to it like other branches as well, but like in the previous video we covered pull request. So once your pull request is approved and code is merged into your main branch, say master is the main branch, main as in the default and compare branch, then once your code is merged, when this pull request is approved and the code is merged, then whenever the code is merged in the master or any commit is done into the master, then this pipeline is going to get triggered. That's what we have configured here through the trigger step. Then there is a pool step. So I'm using Azure's default DevOps Azure default pool, and I'm using VM imager for Ubuntu latest. So what happens is all these agents are Microsoft's agents, and there must be some servers running this code, right? Whenever you on your machine try to run a code and build a code, publish a code. Similarly, that needs to be done for the pipeline as well, and that needs a machine. So these are that machine which is given to us by Microsoft. In your default account, you won't be run it by default. I'll show you why. But let's try to cover next. Then we have this steps section. You can add scripts or other bash task or any kind of task here. And there is more to pipeline like templates and everything, which is a very which would require a detailed description or a video around pipelines and all, and that there is a wide area around it. So you can refer the Azure DevOps documentation for the same. So when I so this is my simple starter pipeline. Just let's just run it. So I will not be able to run this pipeline, and there is a reason for the same. I do not, this is my free account, and I have no hosted parallelism purchased or granted, and I can request a free one, but I have to fill this form, so which I've already done, but they are going to take few business days to enable that for me. So I will not be able to run any pipeline here, but my aim is here to describe everything around the pipeline for you. So okay, so let's go back to the pipelines section. All right, I'm back at my pipelines page. I have another pipeline which I had created using a classic editor. But before that, I would like to show how you can create a new pipeline. So once you reach this page of pipelines, click on new pipeline. It is going to show you two options. One is use classic editor, and the other one is YAML, which that pipeline is similar to the one I showed you earlier. So you can click on here. If you have any existing YAML, you can choose to use that. As I don't have any existing, I'm going to use a starter pipeline. It is going to give us this YAML. You can rename it like test YAML. I'm just giving it any name for now. And then you can start adding your code here and save and run. That's how you can create a pipeline for using a YAML and a new YAML that is being used. The other option is to use an existing YAML. So if I choose this, I will have to give the path of a YAML here, but I don't have any YAML yet. Let's try to see if I have any YAML in any other repository. Let's see which pipeline I had earlier. So this was for master branch, and the repository was, let me go. So this is in the test pipeline. So let's try to create a new pipeline again, and I will choose the repository as test pipeline for an example. So let's choose test pipeline. I do have an existing YAML here. I need to choose the path of the same. So this is the one, and then if I continue, and I'm creating a different pipeline with the same YAML, I can edit the steps here. So, or you can add a new YAML for yourself. Now let's go back again and then try to see how a classic editor works. So you can click on use classic editor. Herein you don't have to code your steps. So you choose a repository here, choose any branch. Let's continue. I'm going to choose an empty job, and that's how it is going to look like. So you have a pipeline with pool defined, you have sources for your branch and everything, and you have shallow fetch, depth set to 1. Then we have agent. Now comes, because why do we call it agent job? Because all of those jobs which you want to run on your pipeline, before that it needs to look at which pipeline or which repository this pipeline is for. Then it gets the sources into its machine, the agent machine. And once you have all that, then you can add agent step. Now say for example, if I want to tag a specific branch, I need to enable this step. So what happens is, when an agent is a different machine, this is a different portal, so it access this portal using some OAuth token. So if I add any steps, like say I want to add a bash step to create a tag or all, I'll show you an existing pipeline for that. So it should be able to create a tag based on rights it have. So we need to tell this pipeline that you need to persist this OAuth token. So if you remember from my Git tagging video, I mentioned about the checkout task and persist credentials setting set to true, and it's similar to this. We are persisting our OAuth token into the further steps of the pipeline. So if you go in here, bash script, I can add mainline scripts here. I can choose a working directory. Say for example, here I have my repository set, so I don't have to choose anything here. And if I have a file path, I can add my script into my repository. Say I had one script here, I can choose that script, and then my script will be run in this step. So let's go back and leave this for now. I'll show you an existing pipeline. Edit it. So that's how you're going to see it. On the agent job, I have this OAuth enabled, but I don't have rights yet. My agent is not running, but my aim was here to tag this branch. So which branch? This main branch. I can choose a different branch as well. I don't have any yet, but if I change my repository to other one, I will have a few more branches listed, like master or main, or there might be other branches as well. In this one, I had few more branches. So let's try that. I have feature test as well. So I can change my branches from here, or there's another option. I'll just leave it for now. When I try to open this and try to run the pipeline, then from here also I can choose the branch and then run my pipeline for the same. So as of now it is configured on a different branch, which I showed you. So for example, if you want to change the branch, then you have to change it from here and choose the ADO repo, because it has 3 branches. Let's save for now. Okay, and I have this bash script. I'm letting you know that this pipeline is not going to run because I don't have the agent rights yet, but I need to show you, and I'm going to show you that once I change the branch, as in the repository, I can change the branch from here and then run my pipeline for a specific branch here. So you can see the pipeline is initiated, but again I still have this write limitation, so it won't be able to run. Then we have this environment section. So usually what happens is you might need certain credentials to say some cloud environment, some Artifactory environment, and there are some tokens being set for an NPM or private repository. You can create an environment here, and then for enable it to be accessed by different pipelines, and then you need to allow on that specific pipeline when that agent or the step reaches wherein it uses this environment variables, and you need to just allow it on the pipeline. I don't have any environment set yet, and because my agent itself is not running, but you should know that you can add your dev QA UAT environment based variables in here and tokens here, and you can mark them as secret, and it will not be shown to a different user, but then you can make use of these into your pipelines. Then comes the release pipeline. So usually release pipelines are all classic editor based. So I have one pipeline already, and then you can create a new pipeline from here. Let's first dive into the existing pipeline. So I created this pipeline. I can edit this pipeline. So what is this? These are the artifacts and these are the stages of a pipeline. So you might have a different stage, dev, QA, UAT, prod. So you can add multiple stages using this add button and do the settings for it. Then we have this artifact. So you can add multiple kind of artifacts. So usually what happens is we create a build artifact. and then we feed that build artifact to the release pipeline. So how do we get a build artifact? Let's first see that. Let's go to the pipeline, and if you see this run and click one of the run, you have this related artifact section. So it has consumed one. Let me go back to the other one. I think this one should be fine. So it is saying that it has 0 artifacts. I can add a publish artifact step into the pipeline, and I can publish the build results here. The artifact usually gets saved with the name of the build we have, and once this artifact is being created in my release pipeline, I can feed that artifact. So if I click on add and then choose the source pipeline, say test CI. I don't have any build yet, but it has taken the default version as latest, as in the latest artifact that is being, the latest build that is being run, and through which the latest artifact that is being published, that is going to be get paid. But in future, once you run more builds and publish artifacts, you'll be able to see the versions here. I don't have any yet, but for you, it will show up. Then there is other option of creating and adding an artifact is of a repository, which I've already added here. I have a DevOps repository added. Let me show you that. Let's see what it has. So it is from project. My repository is DevOps. I've chosen the main branch. I've kept the defaults as is. I've just kept the shallow depth as 1. So I can feed my repository as well as a source of artifact rather than a specific build also. Now that's about the artifact. On this artifact, once this stage gets the artifact, it runs certain steps which you might configure. Right? So if you want to tag a branch, you might have to choose the repository as the artifact, not the build. Now if you go back here, it's more now quite similar to the classic editor build pipeline. If you go on the agent job, again you have to enable this if you want to run certain steps which might require you to edit the repository or tag a branch or anything. So you need to allow this, check this button, checkbox for the passing the token of the agent to this ADO. Again, I have certain steps here, and I can choose a working directory as well, right? And okay, that's all, and save. So that's how you save a pipeline. And now you need to create a release. Say for example, you pushed your changes and it were merged, you built that code, now you need to deploy it. So for deploying it, creating a pipeline itself is not enough. You need to create a release, that this is the release I'm going to create. These are usually, the stages are automated. Once you create a release, it will trigger automatically. But like for example, if you have dev, QA, UAT and prod stage, you might want that I don't want UAT and prod run by itself. I want to manually trigger it step by step, and you can choose specific stage to set its trigger to manual, so that once you click on deploy, then it will run that release. So I have this release 3 created. And because it is automated, it is not deployed yet. And if I click on deploy from here or from here, then only you will be able to deploy this release. So you can see the logs from here, pending approval, not deployed because I do not have agent rights yet. So if you look at the logs, I have errors that no hosted parallelism has been purchased yet. It's the same error. So okay, then I have to show you certain other features or things you can do. There is one option to edit this entire release from here, or you can also edit your entire release pipeline from here. Then you have to choose this pipeline. So it is going to edit the entire pipeline, and in future releases, every time those changes are going to be reflected. But now if in case I want to edit this specific release 3, then I have to click on edit release, edit task, and I can add more task here from this. Or you can, I cannot add more tasks, but I can at least edit the existing task. Say I want to echo something else simply. So it is going to edit specific release 3, not the entire pipeline. And I can show you that if you go back to the pipeline and if you edit it, you will see that that echo test was not added here. No, sorry, echo else I had added, that was not added here. So this, oh sorry, to the release pipeline, if I again see this release and look at its logs and then task, then it has echo else here, right? So yeah, that's about the releases. Then we have certain libraries as well, task group and deployment groups. You can add a certain variable group also. This was the simple environment dev QA UAT, wherein you added that this is going to run for dev environment. So in releases, you have an ability to add environments in the variables. Say for example, I have a pipeline. Let me edit the entire pipeline so that I can show you the. And I think let's add environment as well. Let's add dev. I am not choosing any kind of resource yet. Then let's go to the environment again and add another environment QA and then create that environment. I will have I can add more resources here, like I can add I don't have any Kubernetes yet, but let's say I can add a service provider or anything, but that wouldn't work because I will have to edit it. But I can add certain resources here, or if not, then I can simply create just environment with no resources yet, and then in the releases I can add stages, like edit this pipeline. I will edit this pipeline and I will add another stage, empty job. Stage 2 will be QA. I can I can mark this deployment. I want to run it independently, manual only. I don't want it to run after a stage. I want to keep the stages as independent. And then in this I can rename the stage to dev. Okay. And then if I it has no task yet, let's add a task here, bash task again. I can copy an existing task as well, like I am adding new task here, but let's keep it this way for now. Okay, so I have this release pipeline. I have added 2 stages. I may need to add certain variables. Let's add a variable, let's say test, and its value is something, say test, and I want to its scope to be the dev environment. Similarly, I can add another variable and its scope will be set to QA environment, and then we might have certain variables which are common in all the releases. Then we can simply choose the release scope as this release. So I'm going to choose this QA, and then I have a common variable which can be used inside the steps pipeline steps, and I can say add these, and I've chosen the scope as release. Okay. So in the task I can access my variables using some dollar in this. I think this can be used this way. So I can add the variable in this command dollar, and I can use, say, what was my variable name? Uh, let's use when you create a same variable for different scope, you keep the variable names same. So on based on the stages, it is going to pick up that variable. Okay, so I was editing the dev stage as of now, but I can uh, do add the same step in the QA stage as well, and it is going to pick itself from the QA. So we can give the variable name here QA, and this was dev. But I won't be able to show it live, but you can try that using these steps. Test, and then I in the stage, this was the dev stage. I need to change the choose the QA stage also. So task, hover on the task and then click on QA, and then here you can add again step environment variable. See. So now your pipeline is created. You create a release and you can choose that I can. My dev is automated, but my QA step is still manual. I create on it, and you will see that dev will be auto triggered in a minute. I don't have to click on deploy yet. Let's go to the release pipeline and click on this. Now, so it has an error because it couldn't run. I still have this problem, but for the QA, it is not yet deployed yet because I have not. I have kept it to manual. I had chosen not to deploy it. Now, if I click on this and deploy, then again it is going to give the error, but at least this pipeline is triggered. But you will see that the variables it has chosen here in the specific QA run as test QA, and if I go to release 4 again and I look at the logs here for the dev one, stage and look at the variables, it has chosen the test dev one. So that's how you can add the specific stage variables as well. uh, so what you had to do is you go to variable, you give the name of the variable as same, you give the values different, but you based on the environment you choose the scope of the variable, but this common is going to remain same across all the stages because its scope is release. Now there's one more thing which I want to tell you. Now this is my specific for release, and in future what happens is I want to edit this specific release with one more step. So I can edit this specific release. So all the changes you make to this release in these tasks or in this task are going to reflect only for release 4. So I'm not doing it yet. Now the other option is to edit the entire pipeline. You can edit the entire pipeline from here, or in the releases section, again going to this and you edit here, then this will also edit the entire pipeline for you. Okay, so changes to the entire pipeline are going to reflect in all the future new releases, not the older ones, the future ones. So yeah, that's about the pipelines. uh, the artifact section is for like you have JFrog artifactory, you use Docker Hub for publishing your artifacts. You can use artifacts from here as well. Then these are unit tests plan or integration tests that you can add to your pipelines, and those results can reflect in here in the test plans. So these may require additional subscription or rights. So I don't have that. I'm not going to cover that, but we can definitely explore that, or you should try to explore that in your portal. So yeah, that's all on the pipelines. I hope you found this useful, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.